Hello everyone, Harry Baldock here, editor at Total Telecom, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Ingobert Veith, Director of Public Policy for Huawei Germany. Ingo, how are you today?
Very good. Thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome. We're here today to talk about 5G and more specifically 5G in Germany. So I think a good starting point would be to discuss where we're at with 5G deployment on a more kind of global level. So Ingo, what's your opinion on this?
So last week's GSA figures shows actually 5G is faster than any of its predecessor technologies. So we talk about 122 commercially used 5G networks in 49 countries. Certainly with a different scale, but overall I would say with a strong momentum. Looking at Germany, I think one could say important first steps have been taken towards 5G. The mobile network operators in Germany have quickly secured a first supply to the population with a relatively wide coverage of 5G.
So in terms of Germany's position on a more global scale, how does Germany compare to other countries around the world?
In general, I would say these first steps, which I just outlined, were certainly right and also important to set in motion an according dynamic in Germany. But if you look around, say around the globe, looking at South Korea or China, to be honest, we see a significantly higher market penetration with real, I mean more capable 5G installations in the so-called C-band. And this is where you actually raise the full potential of 5G. So technically speaking, one could say that drawing conclusions for Germany, we should now really push for a real high capacity, respectively high speed 5G deployment in the C-band, which was actually recently auctioned in Germany in the so-called 3.5 gigahertz band.
Sounds like there's still kind of plenty of work to be done in Germany to catch up with some of those leading markets. But from a technological standpoint, what do you think needs to be done to really accelerate 5G in Germany?
Generally speaking, I would say let's focus on synergies and not considering the 5G mobile network expansion as a completely isolated process. So coming from an infrastructure point of view, suggestion could be stuff like, why don't we consider of applying fully integrated, prefabricated mast solutions? These could, for example, be used in rural areas along important transportation routes. This sort of infrastructure would be much easier and cost-effective to be installed. So you have it prefabricated and don't have to do all the fixing and maintaining on the mast while it is already built up itself. Or if we consider settlement or industrial areas, so we have now by the technology new forms which we could apply. So I talk about new forms of macrosites. In former days, a macrosite was huge towers with massive antenna applications. We see now with 5G better antennas with much more aggregated emission characteristics, having also a very much reduced weight. So it's well under 100 kilos. And with these new features, you can consider new sites. So I talk, for example, of passive infrastructure in the hand of municipality companies. So, for example, roofs or the edges of roofs could be covered with this new form. So it is the capability, the power of a macrosite, but in a much slimmer and easier form. And that would significantly bring the costs down. And of course, this makes it much easier and more efficient for the 5G rollout. And last but not least, talking about synergies, why not also considering fixed wireless approaches, say in the C-band, but also in the millimeter wave spectrum? That means we could make general mobile infrastructures for 4G, but in particular for 5G, also available for or under-penetrated home applications. I think that would also increase the 5G acceptance.
So it really sounds like infrastructure innovation is going to be really key to this acceleration. Moving away from infrastructure for a moment, I wanted to ask you more specifically about the specific benefits we can see from 5G, and really in particular, what 5G means for Germany's industry.
I think it's clearly to be seen in the business sector. All the high expectations we see on 5G are certainly in the field of vertical market applications. So just to give you a number or a taste for what I have in mind when I talk about this. So there are existing devices forecasts amounting to 48 billion US dollars within an expected total 5G market volume, which is even higher. And these 48 billion US dollars are estimated until the year 2026 for the device sector. And what does it mean, the device sector, or what is behind? So it's not devices in terms as we know it for our mobile phones. No, we talk about machines equipped with 5G connectivities, tools, a wide range of equipment of all kind. So, and if you take these devices or this potential market for 5G devices, and you match this with Germany's economic structure, which is very industrial, very much for the vertical industry, I see a great opportunity for the German industry, and in particular for SMEs, as they can position themselves with new 5G applications. So, and using this opportunity now, so in terms of applying this real capable 5G, could even make it possible for Germany to get a 5G market leadership from this vertical industrial point of view.
That leads really nicely to my last question for you, Ingo, which is around private 5G networks and how they're going to impact industry. Clearly, this is kind of an idea that's gaining a lot of momentum. We've seen numerous pilots across a number of industries, but right now they're still very much in their infancy. So what do you think needs to change to see these private networks deployed more widely and to really realize their full potential?
You're right. We see many promising pilots here in Germany, but they are all still in a trial status. So in order to come up with ideas how to fix this or how to overcome this, I think you have to understand the reason for that. And the reason probably is a huge challenge we have for the operators to gain a sufficient value add in this process. So we are involved in many of these trials, and we can clearly see that no project of these is like one as the other. So that means each project is different. And since each project is different, it requires adaptability and also integration skills. So you have to make sure you can keep or even increase your share of the value chain. And you just can reach this by widening your own competences. So, and this lack we have in Germany, and in order to overcome this lack of competences in certain layers or areas, I think cooperation is absolutely of great importance. So nobody in the market can do this alone. So a healthy and a rich ecosystem at the end of the day is key in order to make this 5G campus network project in real, tangible business success.
Ingo, it's been a real pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for joining me today.